Hi, my name is Diamond Salmons, and this is my EGS 301 report about Deserted, the food gap. So, for today's presentation, we're going to have a brief introduction to the problem, and then we'll go into the affected area, which is Memphis, Tennessee. Then we'll talk about the work of Feeding America, and lastly, making a difference. So, just for a second, I just want you to imagine taking three buses just to buy a bag of apples. Sadly, this is the reality for thousands of families in Memphis, Tennessee. Growing up, I never thought about how easy it was to have nutritious groceries available at a grocery store within my neighborhood. Kroger was just a short 2-minute drive from my house. But on March 4th, 2020, the Kroger, 2 minutes away from my house, shut down due to declining finances and the company's plan to allocate more funds towards technology and infrastructure upgrades. This happened just before the beginning of COVID-19 pandemic, and the closure left many in my community in a difficult position. For 2 years, I witnessed what it was like to live in a food desert. One day, as I was driving to the store with my mom, I asked, what if families didn't have a car to get to the grocery store from this side of town? That moment made me realize how critical transportation is to food access and how many people are forced to rely on dollar stores or take multiple buses just to buy fresh groceries. This sadly is a harsh reality for thousands of people in Memphis, Tennessee, where food deserts continue to expand. As you can see from the picture, this is an abandoned market in Delhi called Crump Street Market in Delhi, where many people got their groceries and nutrition. Some of you may be thinking, why does she keep saying food desert? What does that even mean? So it's kind of exactly as it sounds, a desert from food. So a food desert is an area where access to affordable and nutritious food is limited. These often affect low income neighborhoods where grocery stores are few and also there are far in between. Now, I'm going to talk about the most affected areas of food deserts in America. Memphis, Tennessee, or also labeled as America's hunger capital. Food insecure families have been on a gradual rise since the 2000s. Approximately 1 in 6 people face food insecurity, and 50,000 children face food insecurity or hunger in Memphis, Tennessee. As you can see on the graph here to the left, there has been an increase in percentages of food insecurity as the years carry on in Memphis, Tennessee. So this map here shows food deserts within the Memphis, Tennessee area. And then on the right-hand corner, there's a key acknowledging the low income and low access layers of labeling. So as you can see, there's low income and low access in green, and it kind of makes a little border around the orange parts, which is low income and low access, that are half and 10 miles away. So there is a really big area of this. Over 40% of Tennessee families report food insecurity, and almost 30% of parents skip meals just to feed their children. Even if you don't live in a food desert, understanding them is essential to being an informed citizen who can make and advocate for change one day. These issues impact real people and communities. These could be classmates, neighbors, and even relatives. Memphis being labeled America's hunger capital is not an accident. This neglect has been going on since World War I, when shop owners had to be drafted into the war and the low income communities were left to fend for themselves after soldiers returned. Historical patterns of racial and economic segregation have played a significant role in the formation of food deserts in Memphis. According to the research from the University of Memphis School of Law, discriminatory housing policies and redlining have contributed to the economic disparities seen in many neighborhoods today. The study highlights how systematic disinvestment in predominantly Black and low income communities has led to a lack of grocery stores, forcing residents to depend on dollar stores and gas stations for food and nutrition for their families and children. These historical factors continue to shape food accessibility and excavate food insecurity overall. These challenges make it clear that food deserts are not isolated problems, but systematic issues rooted in historical inequalities and economic disadvantages. Moving on, I would like to introduce Feeding America, which is a nationwide network of food banks, food pantries, and local meal programs. They operate over 200 food banks along with 60,000 food pantries and meal programs. Its mission is not just to feed people, but to inspire systematic change. The organization's storytelling approach is grounded in themes of community, empowerment, urgency, and hope. Feeding America's organizational narrative centers around building empathy and advocacy through awareness. Feeding America builds empathy by sharing real stories from individuals and families facing hunger. They try to make hunger a personal situation instead of statistical. Here there are some real testimonies of people who have had the help of Feeding America when they were in need. So the first testimony on the left came from a woman and her husband where they spoke about feeding our kids hasn't always been easy. When we were hit financially, you're just without, and there's nothing more scary than when you have to figure out how to feed your kids. The second testimonial comes from a dedicated grandfather making sure that his 6 grandchildren, whom he takes care of by himself, have everything that they need. During the summertime, he just needs a little extra help to make sure they have enough to eat. And the third is from a student who wants to grow up to be a robotics engineer. When I'm hungry, I get tired or I'll get distracted. But when I'm not okay and I can focus, and if I'm full, I'm ready for whatever happens. These go to show that Feeding America has helped wives, children, the elderly, and even students who want to grow up to be something one day. Feeding America advocates through awareness by using multimedia to spotlight the issue of hunger and food deserts. They have been advocating for systematic solutions to make permanent changes to battle food insecurity overall. Here, there are some posts made by Feeding America from their X, formerly known as Twitter, and Instagram accounts. So, as you can see from the Twitter post on the left, it talks about National Agriculture Day and they wanted to thank farmers for feeding America. And then on the left still, but to the right of that, it's talking basically about how it's a new year, but they have the same mission to end hunger. And then to the right, there is the Instagram post to where they are thanking people who were a part of the Food Rescue Challenge because there were 700,000 plus meals that were provided thanks to the donations. And then another one has a quote about no one should ever go hungry, especially the most vulnerable, particularly children and seniors. And these posts have great, vibrant colors that catch your eye. And honestly, my favorite would be the one about the farmers because everything just looks so nice. Now, let's talk about the biggest thing making a difference. So, one of the first ways to make change in Memphis are some policy changes. Local governments could pass zoning laws and tax incentives to encourage grocery chains to build in food deserted neighborhoods, along with possibly increasing benefits for residents and making them easier to use at farmers markets and mobile vendors that are helping them. So, these benefits could be SNAP, so the Supplementary Food Program, and also WIC for mothers who are in need. Um, Many neighboring groups in Memphis advocate for sustainable agriculture, food literacy, and healthy food access. There are nutrition and cooking workshops at community centers where residents help to make the most of the limited resources. Improving access is a main key here as well. There's a vast number of mobile markets that act as traveling grocery stores that bring fresh produce directly to neighborhoods in need. Lastly, if all else fails, trying to coordinate bus routes and schedule with major grocery store locations will make it easier for families who do not have access to immediate transportation. That goes into my statement at the beginning of what would people do if they didn't have a car to get to the grocery store, I feel like this would be a good opportunity to make that a solution. So here are some of my works cited. And if you made it to the end of the presentation, thank you so much for listening, and I appreciate you. Remember, if a story moves you so much, act on it.